Welcome to the Living Freed channel. My name is Tyler Freed, and in this video, I'm going to be showing y'all a blueprint on how to become a millionaire, not just a millionaire, but a multimillionaire, even as a truck driver or somebody that's not a truck driver. If you're watching this video and you're not even in trucking and you happen to click on this video, this will work no matter what job you do, no matter what career field you're in. It'll work. It'll work whether you are employed by somebody else or you're self-employed. It doesn't really matter. The basic principles I'm going to talk about in this video and show you will work and get you to millionaire status no matter what you do. Now, to be clear though, I am going to show you a couple of examples of retirement accounts. So I'm going to show you the example of maxing out a 401k and a Roth IRA. If you are self-employed, you will have to do a solo 401k or a SEP IRA instead of the 401k. Okay, that's just if you're self-employed. But the same principles apply that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm just using the 401k as an example because most people are employees. But again, like I said, the principles will apply no matter what. But you heard it right. I know a lot of you are going to click off this video, or most truck drivers are not going to be interested in hearing this. And like I said, anybody can do this. It doesn't matter if you're a trucker or not, but most people that watch me are in trucking or they're looking at getting into trucking, and I'm just trying to show people a way that they can create crazy amounts of wealth even in a simple job like this. There's truck drivers, or it's one of the most common jobs in America, being a truck driver, and for the most part, most truck drivers make above average income, and if they just were a little bit smart with their money, they could retire multimillionaires and build generational wealth for themselves and their family, but most don't. Most Americans don't, and especially most truck drivers, are not smart with their money. Most truck drivers are broke. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're really struggling out here, and that should not be the case. That should not be the case. And so that's what I'm going to get into in this video. So first, before I show you some examples about investing and different retirement accounts and everything, I like to lead off with this, because before you can do what I'm going to talk about, you got to do these first two steps. And I do say it in every video, and I'm sure some of you get tired of me saying it, but I do have to say the steps first before you start investing, because a lot of people will skip these two steps, and it's hard to do multiple things at once. So first step is, I always tell people, get out of debt. Get out of consumer debt. If you have a mortgage on a house, you can pay off all your debt excluding the mortgage. But I would get completely out of debt. Credit card payments, student loan payments, car payments, anything that is not associated with your personal mortgage, you need to get out of debt. That's the first step. Second step, you need to have a 6-month emergency fund. And what is that? It's 6 months worth of living expenses saved up in a money market account or a high yield savings account. That is what you need to do before you begin investing. Why is that? Because you want to, when you have a lot of debt, you have high payments, okay? And when you have a lot of payments, most of your income is going towards those payments. So what we need to do in order for you to do what I'm going to talk about in this video is you need to free up the cash flow in your life, okay? Let's say you're making $6,000 a month, take home pay, and your bills are $5,000 a month. But if you paid off all your debt, you could wipe out $2,000 a month in bills, in payments. Well, that's an extra $2,000 a month that you could throw at building an emergency fund or investing. It is going to be very hard to do what I'm talking about in this video if you are not debt free, because again, most of your income is going towards paying your payments, paying your debts. And again, when you're debt free, it frees up cash flow, and you're able to save and invest and build wealth aggressively, like I'm going to talk about in this video. So I like to get that out of the way first and foremost, because if I don't say that, people will jump to what I'm about to show you, and that's not good. So I want to talk about too, before I get into it, most people think this is BS. I mean, most people won't listen to this advice. Most people, especially truck drivers, they'll click off the video. They don't want to talk about money. They would rather complain about, the trucking company they work for, the industry, whether a Democrat's in office or a Republican's in office, instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and asking themselves, what can I do to make my situation better? They would rather, click off the video and leave a nasty comment to me, or go, complain to everybody else that they know in their life, rather than learn, rather than humbling themselves and learning something. They would rather complain and just blame everybody else for their problems. That does not have to be you. That shouldn't be you, because let me tell you, if you are a truck driver watching this, or you're somebody looking at getting into trucking, chances are you're about to make more money than you've ever made in your life, because most people getting into trucking, the reason they're getting in is so that they can make more money. Most people coming into trucking don't come from privileged beginnings. They come from very humble beginnings. And so chances are most of you getting in are going to be making at least 25% or 50% or even double what you were making at your previous job. And, you got to do something with that money. And that's what motivates me to make videos like this, is because, I see the opportunity. It's like when I first got into trucking, I saw the opportunity. I was making double. I made double what I made at my previous job in my first year of trucking. And, I was able to live off of that other job. Barely. I was barely getting by, but I was able to do it. And being that I was able to double my income at the time, just getting into trucking, just getting a CDL, I was like, man, it's like, with this income, I can invest heavily into stocks. I can get really wealthy really fast. And so that is what I did. And that is what you can do. If you're watching this, look, you need to watch until the end. Number one, if you really want to change your financial life, you need to watch this video till the end, and you probably need to watch this video multiple times, because I'm going to be giving you the blueprint on how to become a multimillionaire by just driving a truck. This is not, you'll hear, hey, this is how you get rich in truck. Oh, you got to be an owner op, start a fleet, grow a fleet. No, you do not have to do that. You can just get in, drive a truck for somebody else, or own one truck if you want to do that, and just invest your money wisely, and you will become a multimillionaire. You will. If you have the right plan and enough discipline and a work ethic, you will do it. So I'm going to get right into it. I just wanted to touch on, don't listen to the people that tell you it can't be done. Don't listen to the people that tell you, that trucking sucks and it's horrible and it's the worst job in the world. And if you're somebody not in trucking, don't listen to people who tell you that your job you're doing now sucks and it's the worst thing in the world. No, what you do with your money and what you do with your free time will determine whether you create freedom in your life. And that is the truth, no matter what you do, but especially in this business, what I do in trucking. Most people don't do what I'm going to talk about. So anyway, I want to get right into it, and I want to show you. So number one, if you're watching this video, let's assume you're out of debt. You have the emergency fund, okay? You need to do those 2 steps first, like I said, but let's assume you are. Let's say you are out of debt and you have that emergency fund. The next step I would take is I would open up an account if you're working for a company, and most big companies have a 401k plan. Most of them do. And, you need to look into opening up a 401k plan. Now, the example I'm going to give you does not include whether your employer matches you on what you contribute into the 401k, but I would recommend, if you have no plans of becoming an owner-operator or a fleet owner starting a business, you should look into the 401k plan. Now, if you want to save up to buy a truck, you probably don't want to do the 401k. And the reason why is because if you put money in a 401k, you're penalized and taxed at a ordinary income tax rate when you pull it out. So if you're putting money in this 401k, you have to put this money in and plan to only withdraw it at retirement age. And I believe you can withdraw it at 59 and a half is when you can start withdrawing from the 401k and there not be a penalty. It's a retirement account. It is designed for you to save for retirement. So what are the tax implications on a 401k? A 401k, you are allowed to put I believe it is up to $23,500 a year into a 401k. That is the max you can contribute. Now, your employer can match you. So there can be more money going into that 401k than what you put in. But let's just say you're the only one contributing to it. You can contribute every year $23,500 a year into that 401k. But again, remember, you cannot pull it out until 59 and a half without penalty. Okay, you can't do that. But what this does, what a 401k does, which is really good, is it lowers your tax liability. So say you make $100,000 a year, you're able to put that $23,500 a year away pre-taxed going into that account. You are deferring paying the taxes on that money. So when you do that, let's say you put, it's pretty much $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. I'm going to round up just for the example. But let's say you make $100,000 a year at your job, right? Well, if you put $24,000 a year into that 401k, you are going to be taxed on the amount after you take the $24,000 out, okay? Because you're allowed to contribute that money pre-taxed into the 401k. Now, when you pull it out at 59 and a half, you are going to be taxed at ordinary income tax rate. So whatever tax bracket you're in, you will pay taxes on that money, as if you had a job, right? You're going to be taxed at an ordinary income tax rate when you pull it out at retirement. But you're able to invest more of your money up front. So it is a benefit. You're able to invest more of your money up front by deferring paying taxes now. Some people don't like to do that, but if you don't ever plan on starting a business, it doesn't make any sense for you not to do the 401k. It doesn't. If you want to buy a truck and everything like that, you need to put most of your savings into an individual brokerage account, and I'll talk about that at the end, the individual brokerage account. But look, most of you don't want to buy a truck. Most of you don't want to go that route. And if you don't, this is what you need to do. This is what you should be doing 100%. So the 401k, you're out of debt, right? You're out of debt. You have an emergency fund. So you have a lot of income now. You have a lot of income to play with, a lot of money to play with month to month. I believe most truck drivers can, at the bare minimum, max out a 401k. Bare minimum. I believe most truck drivers, if they're working full time and they're actually running and they're working, they're not complaining, they can make 80 to 100,000 a year easily. They can make that. And especially when you're out of debt. Look, if you're making $100,000 a year, you can save $24,000 a year. You can save that. 100% you can save that. Don't tell me you can't save that. You're blowing your money at truck stops on food and GPSs and headsets and all this crap, and instead of being wise with some of your money, okay? So let's say all you did was you invested just the 401k, because I'm going to do the Roth IRA next. But let's say all you did was invested in a 401k. All right, let's say, and I'm going to do $2,000 a month for round numbers. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. This is a retirement calculator, by the way. So this is Dave Ramsey's investment calculator or retirement calculator, whatever you want to call it. But what you can do is you can enter the age you are now, you can put the age you plan to retire, and you can put how much money you currently have in savings and how much you're going to contribute every month, and the rate of return you can expect to get over the long run. And it'll give you the number of where you will be in however many years you put. It's a great tool to kind of have a gauge on, hey, am I saving enough, or am I on the path of reaching my goal? And I want to be clear too, you need to know this. If you're planning to retire, you need to have a number not an age, really more of a number. This age thing will show you over so many years, here's what you can have, and it's a great tool. But you need to know the number. You need to know, how do you figure out whether you can retire? Okay, and I'm going to show you on this little calculator down here. You need to figure out, how much money do I need to make every year to live my life, or every month, right, to live my life. Okay, and I'm going to show you just an example on $5,000 a month, right, times 12. Let's just say you need $5,000 a month to live your life, and that is to do everything: pay your bills, go on vacation, live your life to the fullest. Not live super frugal. I'm talking about live your life the way you want to live it. Okay, and it's just an example. Some people it's higher than this, some people it's lower than this. You have to figure out whatever your number is. Just annualize your income of what you would need monthly or yearly, and you need to get that yearly number for the formula I'm going to show you. But once you get that monthly number, multiply it by 12, that'll give you your annual income you need. And all you do is divide that by 4%. That's all you do. So in this example, it's $60,000. You divide that by 4%, and that gives you $1.5 million. So if you only needed $60K a year to live your life, you would need $1.5 million invested to be able to never have to work again. And you may be thinking, man, that's crazy. I'll never reach that. Well, no, if you do what I talk about in this video, you will 100% reach that. Because it's really not that hard. You got to remember, you're making 80, 90, 100,000 a year as a truck driver. Look, I'm going to show you, even if you just save $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, for 20 years, you're pretty much a millionaire. Especially 30 years, you're a multimillionaire. Just $1,000 a month, And imagine if you do what I just said and you max out a 401k. I'll do the 401k and the Roth IRA, but it just depends on how much you're willing to do. You can become very wealthy very fast, like I've been saying. So I'm going to show you an example of just the 401k. All right. So let's say you're 25 and you want to, do this you're going to just max out a 401k for 20 years. All right. And it was $2,000 a month. So I'm going to put 0 as the how much you currently have. You're starting from nothing, and I'll do $2,000 a month. That's $500 a week. That's $500 a week. I know y'all can do that. I know y'all can do. I know what y'all make. I know what truck drivers can make. All right. So let's say, okay, as you can see at the very bottom here, this is the return your investment will generate over time. Historically, the 30-year return of the S&P 500 has been roughly 10 to 12%. And I'm going to show you the different index funds that I like, that I would recommend to anybody, that I personally would invest in. I'll show you that. And that's where you'll see like the 10% rate of return and what he's saying here at the bottom. But and that is historically correct. Over the last 40 years, the S&P has done like 11 to 12% a year, compounded annually. So I always like to take the low end of that average. I just do 10% over time. All right. So let's say for 20 years, you're going to just max out a 401k. This ain't the Roth IRA and the 401k. It's just the 401k. That's all you're going to do. This also doesn't consider the fact that most employers will match you up to a certain amount that you contribute as well. So let me show you. All right, so after 20 years of just maxing out a 401k, you would have $1.5 million. So remember the example I showed you about, to make $60,000 a year on your investment and not touch the principal, just a 4% withdrawal rate was $60,000 a year on $1.5 million. So you've already reached that in 20 years. Again, you need to know your number, but again, this is how you need to run the numbers. Go online, type in his calculator, and do the numbers yourself. Okay. Now let's say you're going to work 25 years, and this is where you really want to play with the numbers. All right. So let's say 25 years you're going to work. Boom. $2.6 million. Okay, 2.6. Do 4% of that. You're making 6 figures a year off of your portfolio if you work 25 years. And that's just saving $2,000 a month. I haven't even done the Roth IRA yet. All right, but I wanted to explain the 401k. I know, and I'm going to end with the 401k example, but I know, and just keep doing it. I'll do one more. All right, now 30 years. A lot of you will work 30 years. Let's do a 30-year example. $4.5 million. Oh, but Tyler's lying. The number, Tyler's lying. He's full of it. It's I don't understand some of you. I mean, shoot, if you just do this for 5 years, so let's see in 5 years what you would have. $154,000, $2,000 a month in 5 years. It's pretty good in 5 years. Let's do 10. 409. Pretty good. Just $2,000 a month. That's what you would have. Oh, but Tyler's lying. Tyler's full of it. Well, I'm showing you the numbers. These are the numbers, and that's just investing in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. That's all that is. That's all you're doing. You're just working your job. You're contributing to your 401k, and you're investing it conservatively. You're not putting it in something super high risk, and you're living your life too. You're living your life. Because when you're out of debt, even if you're maxing out a 401k, if you're making truck driver pay, look, you're going to be able to have fun with your life too along the way. And I'm going to recommend the book to read at the end. I'll show you the cover so y'all can look it up. But anyway, that's just the 401k. And this is going to be a long video. Like I said, most people won't want to watch this video through its entirety. But, in order to explain all this stuff, I mean, it takes me time to explain it. So anyway, that's the 401k. So I want to add this up now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add. So for each year, you can contribute pre-tax, defer paying taxes on $23,500 a year in a 401k. I know I did $2,000 a month, but it makes it a lot easier to put it in that calculator if you have a round number like $2,000 a month. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add, so we got $23,500 going into a 401k, right? So I'm going to switch over now to the Roth IRA. So what I'm going to do is show you an example of maxing out all of your tax advantage accounts first. That's what I'm going to do first, okay? So a Roth IRA is different. A Roth IRA, you can contribute up to $7,000 a year per individual if you're under the age of 50, and $8,000 for people who are 50 and up. Okay, so most people watching this are probably under 50. Well, there's a lot of truck drivers that watch me that are 50 and up, so you can do $8,000 a year. I'll use $7,000 a year as the example in the calculator, and you can just do it yourself. If you are 50 and up watching this video, you can do it yourself. But let's just say, so yeah, $7,000 a year plus, what did I put? $23,500. So let's say you're going to max out both your 401k and your Roth IRA, and that's all you're going to do. What are the tax implications on a Roth IRA? And I've talked about taxes. You need to consult with a CPA, but all of this stuff is a quick Google search and you can learn about it yourself. And you need to read the book at the end of the video that I recommend. It'll teach you about it as well. But the Roth IRA is different. You do not put pre-taxed money into a Roth IRA. This is after taxes, okay? So you will work, you will pay taxes, and you will contribute to this after taxes, all right? So you can put up to $7,000 a year into this Roth IRA, but here's the beautiful thing. The Roth IRA is amazing. If you are not doing a 401k and you're investing your money in an individual brokerage account, you at least, bare minimum, you need to have a Roth IRA, okay? The beautiful thing about a Roth IRA is you can contribute $7,000 a year, but all the growth on that money is tax-free. So when you go to pull it out, you can pull it out at age 59 and a half, just like the 401k, but all the money from that Roth IRA is tax-free growth. So if you 10x'd your money over 30 years of working, all the growth, you pay no taxes on the dividends or on the capital gains on that investment. It is absolutely beautiful. And if you just maxed out a Roth IRA, if that's all you did for 30 years, you would be a multimillionaire. Oh, Tyler's lying. Tyler's lying. All right, well, let's do that real quick. Hold on a second. I'll do the 401k and Roth IRA next. But let's just say 7,000, okay, divided by 12. This is your monthly number, 583, right? 583. 583. I'm showing you now. So for those of you that don't believe me, here's 30 years, a 30-year trucking career. You drive for 30 years, and all you do is a Roth IRA. That's it. $500 a month, pretty much. $1.3 million. Tax-free. So you can withdraw 4% a year from that tax-free. Okay? Oh, but Tyler's lying. Well, again, I'm showing you the numbers. The men lie, women lie, numbers do not lie. Okay, so now that's just the Roth IRA for 30 years. All right, and again, I'm saying starting at 25, you put your age in there and you figure it out for yourself. If you're older than that, doesn't really matter. You know, the years, the length of time, you know, that's just, I'm just using this as an example, like I'm saying. All right, so again, you can max out 23,500 per year into a 401k, and then after tax you can put 7,000 away into a Roth IRA. And let's assume that's all that you do. So I'm going to do the example of maxing them both out, which that should be your goal, is to do that. Especially, again, like I said, especially if you are not planning on starting a business. And by watching this video, this may deter you from even wanting to start a business, because it really is this easy to become a multimillionaire. It really is. All you got to do is work and invest your money. That's it. That's all you got to do. And you can live your life without the hassles of running a business. I mean, I like running my business, but this is where the true freedom is. Yeah, I make my money from the trucking business, but I personally put my money in, most of my investments go into this. I put my money in this. I invest in my business and I invest in the market. That's what I do. All right, so if you max out both of them, it's $30,500. 23,500 for the 401k and 7,000 for the Roth IRA, or 8,000 if you are 50 and above. All right, so I'm going to get the monthly number. That's $2,541 a month that you would be investing. And again, let's assume this is all you do, $2,541 a month. Let's assume this is all you do. Okay, and we'll do a 20-year example to start out. What was it again? 2541. Okay, 2541 a month. Okay, at the historical rate of return. Boom, $1.9 million. So pretty much $2 million. So 4% a year on $2 million is $80,000 a year. 80 in 20 years. In 20 years. And a lot of that money is tax-free too, because it's in a Roth IRA. Now, you can't pull it out at 45. You can't without penalty. So we'll just take it up. We'll do it till 60. Okay. If you put it in a Roth or a 401k. So we'll do it till 60, which the numbers are unbelievable. $9.6 million. Okay. But here's what I would do. Let's say you don't want to like go super aggressive after you've reached FI. And a lot of people will do this. And I actually think it's a smart thing to do. Let's say you're going to only do this for 20 years. You're like, look, I want to reach FI. So in this example, let's say, 80,000 a year is your FI number, right? So you need $2 million in investments to pretty much not have to work again. But I'm going to get into, you can add more than this. You can add more than this, because you don't just have to do the retirement accounts. You can do the individual brokerage account as well, which you can put as much money into that as you want. But let's say you just do this for 20 years, okay? And all right, you reach the 1.9. You've reached your FI goal, but you're like, all right, I'm 45. What am I going to do? Am I going to just never work at all again? And a lot of people will just reach that number and they'll go, no, I don't want to not work anymore, but I also don't want to put all my money be super aggressive with investing. So let's just assume that this number is you've reached it. Like, you don't have to work anymore. You've already reached that goal, but you want to keep working. All right. So let's say you've reached that goal at 45, but you can't withdraw it without penalty until 60. Well, you can stop contributing entirely because you've already reached your number. And let's say you're going to contribute 0, right? And we're going to do, 2 million. Let's see, right? We're going to do, $2 million, because that's pretty much what it is, right? And you're going to leave it alone until you're 60, right? You would have 8.9 million at retirement if you just left it alone. So no more contributions. Once you reach that FI number, you can keep working and you can just take all your money and have fun with it, because your money, you've already reached the goal. So now you're just going to let it compound until you are ready to retire. That's what you can do. And this, again, these are just examples on, retirement accounts, okay? If you want to put more money than that, I always told y'all, look, I invested 50 to 60% of my money from trucking. That's what I did over the last 6-7 years. And it resulted in a multi-6-figure net worth. It did. I'm showing you, that's what it did. And, the examples I've given are saving like $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month. Well, some of you can live on the road. Some of you are living on the road. Some of you are team driving with your spouse. Y'all can both do what I'm talking about. If you're married to somebody and they're willing to do this with you, whether they're a truck driver or not, actually, both of y'all can do it though. Y'all can both contribute. So it would be double. It would be $14,000 a year in a Roth, and about $50,000 a year into each of your 401ks, especially if y'all are team driving and y'all do what I just said. Imagine how wealthy y'all would be. Imagine how wealthy you would be. But you look, most of you watching this video will not, well, what do I invest in? I'm going to get into that at the end. Because what's important is you understand that really up front is live on less than you make, get out of debt, have an emergency fund, and then learn about retirement accounts and be willing to do it. That's what's important. Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to do the work? But these numbers are not a lie. They're not a lie. Okay? That's generational wealth. $8 million is generational wealth. You are rich at $8 million. You are filthy rich. And you can pass most of that money on to your kids. That's why when I say I'm building generational wealth in trucking, it's not a lie. It's not a lie. It's the truth. Numbers are numbers. Where your income comes from doesn't matter, because math is math at the end of the day when it comes to investing. All right, and that's just, again, putting it in a low-cost, simple S&P 500 index, or you can do the total U.S. stock market or total world stock market index, and they have all tracked very closely. Again, I'm going to get into that in a second. But moral of the story, guys, figure out how much you can save every month. All right, I can even show you an example, of 20 years, just doing, $1,000 a month, just doing, $250 a week, $250 a week, right? So you have 0 and you do $1,000 a month, right? Okay, what is that? $759,000. Well, that's not a lot of money. It's more money than you have. The person that is going to be a naysayer on this video, it's more money than you currently have. You don't have $700,000 in investments. You don't. Most of you watch. Let's say you just do $1,000 a month until you want to retire at 60, and you're 25 watching this video. $3.7 million. Just $1,000 a month. Y'all can't save $250 a week. You can. But it's going towards headsets and Chrome and all the other stupid stuff y'all buy, and then you get on my video and tell me that I'm a scammer and tell me that I'm lying about my situation. This is what I did. I invested way more than $2,500 a month. I invested like $4,000 to $5,000 a month for the last 6 years. So do the math on that yourself. But anyway, and I like to talk to y'all because you really are. Y'all just don't know what to do. And some of you are very humble about it, and that's who I'm talking to. But some of you are very arrogant in your ignorance, and you need to stop being so arrogant. You need to start learning how to do stuff. And you don't have to watch me. You can learn from people who are doing what I'm talking about. The book I recommend at the end is the book I always recommend. And if you read that book, that's all you need to be successful financially. That is literally all you need to do. And you will have a more enjoyable life than most people doing what I'm talking about. 100%. You will. All right, let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to get into, I just wanted to show you the numbers. Now I'm going to get into the different funds that I personally like. And so I'm going to start with, and I talked about them in the last video. So I'm going to start with the S&P 500. Okay, you say, what? Well, okay, that's great. What do I invest in? Well, I always recommend low-cost index funds. I do not recommend using a financial advisor. I do not recommend investing in actively managed funds or single stocks. I do not recommend doing that. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm not against people who want to do that, but it's completely unnecessary to build wealth over the long run. It is. And most of you do not have the skills or the knowledge to be successful being an individual stock picker. You do not. Also, money managers, financial advisors, most of their funds over the very long run underperform the index. They do. Most money managers, 90 to 95% of them, depending how long of a time period you're looking at, over 10 years, 85% of active money managers underperform the S&P 500. Over 20 years, it's more like 90 to 95%. And over 30 years, 99% of them underperform the index over the very long run. Also, when you buy into a fund where you have an active money manager, you are paying a much larger fee, management fee, for them to manage your money and keep you in that fund. You are, versus the low-cost index fund, which is costing you a very little amount of money. And if you just get educated just a little bit, you can do it yourself and save yourself from paying 1 or 2% a year of a management fee to a financial advisor, and just invest your money elsewhere in a much better long-term investment and a cheaper one, and pay like 0.1% or 0.04% in fees versus 1 to 2%. And 1 to 2% over 20, 30 years of your investment career is a very, very long time. Okay, and so that really adds up, and it really eats away at your returns. And that's why I'm against actively managed funds versus index funds, because again, most of them don't outperform the index, and they also cost more. So it's a no-brainer. It costs less, and you will make a better return over the long run. That's the way that works. So what are the funds I recommend? All an index is something that tracks a collection of stocks or a certain market. All right. There are many different index funds out there. Now, I like to invest in market cap weighted, broadly diversified indexes. I'm not a big fan of, like the NASDAQ 100. It's not a bad index. It just excludes a lot of sectors. It's pretty much a large cap tech fund, and nothing wrong with owning tech. And nothing wrong with investing in that. I think you'll do very well if you stick with that over a 20, 30-year span. But it excludes a lot of different sectors of the market, a lot of different companies in different industries. And look, I like to be broadly diversified. I like to own the whole market if I can, rather than trying to focus on one sector or one part of the market. That's just me personally. So these are the ones I like, and I would personally put my money in, and I do personally have my money in. And so the first one is, most people have heard of the S&P 500 index. And what that is when you buy the S&P 500, you are buying the top 500 publicly traded companies in the United States. That is what you are buying. So when you buy this, you own companies like Apple, Google, Tesla, Nvidia, these names, about them, right? And what you were doing, you were investing in this, and you were saying, look, I believe that over the next 10, 20, 30 years, the companies I'm investing in now as a whole are going to be worth more in the future. Now, some of these companies will not be in the index anymore. Some of these companies will go out of business. That is true. The beautiful thing about index fund investing, again, that makes it better and more effective than picking your own stocks or hiring a money manager, is the indexes, if they're market cap weighted, are self-cleansing. And you'll learn about self-cleansing in the book I recommend at the end. But they're self-cleansing, meaning that, say Apple, right, who's doing very well right now. I believe they're either one or two in the world, top companies in the world on the S&P 500 or the global index that I'll show you. But let's say Apple goes out of business. Let's say Apple gets overtaken by some other competitor, and their stock price starts to dwindle, and the value of that company starts to dwindle, and they drift lower and lower on the index and go out of business. I don't think they're going to do that, but it's just an example. Well, when you own a market cap weighted fund, it automatically, and an index, market cap weighted index, it automatically will adjust the weightings, the value of the companies for you. So if you say you owned Apple and 9 other stocks, and Apple starts to underperform, you don't have to make a buy and sell decision on Apple. The index does that for you when you own the index. But if you owned that company individually in a portfolio that you built on your own, you would have to make that buy and sell decision. You would. And so that's what makes it so hard, because you never know. A company that's great today may not be a company that's great 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And again, the beautiful thing about index fund investing and market cap weighted indexes is you don't have to worry about that. You don't. All that will happen to Apple in this example is it will get replaced with the next best company. Something else will just take its place. It'll drift off the index, and you won't even really care about that. It won't really affect you at all. It won't, and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to manage that at all. You just keep working your job, saving your money, investing like I've been talking about, and again, so that is the truth. That is why I'm so pro indexing, and this is why I do it. Another thing too, you have to remember, some people watching this may want to buy single stocks, and again, that's fine. If you want to do it, you can have success doing that. But are you smarter than the people on Wall Street? Are you smarter than these financial advisors, these money managers that went to Harvard and Yale and all these different colleges to learn about finance? 95% of them do not outperform the index. What makes you think you are going to be that person that does? Most of you will not. So I say, look, I know what I don't know, but I do know enough about business to know that, hey, if I invest in the world's greatest companies, that over the long run, they are going to continue to innovate and grow, and they're going to make more money, more revenue, and more profit in the future, and be worth a lot more money than they are today. How do I know that? Well, because if you look at the all-time chart, this is the S&P 500 chart. You can go back all time and see, here's back in 2000, a share of the Vanguard 500 index sold for $123 a share. Now it's selling for $581 a share, right? So you have more than 5x'd your money since 2000, right? So if you invested $1 million in the year 2000, your investment is now worth like $6 million. And by the way, this chart does not include dividends reinvested. This is just stock price appreciation. So actually you would have much more than like 5 to 6x your money. You would, because hopefully you will have reinvested the dividends. But look at this chart. This is, we had the 2000 dot-com bubble crash, 2000, 2001. It was like 2000 to 2003. We had a huge crash in the market. And then we had 2008. Here's 2008, 2009, 50% collapse of the stock market. We've had COVID. Here's COVID right here, 2020. Here's the dip during the high inflation and interest rate hikes. Here's the big dip from that. Here's the Trump tariffs. Here's the recent one, as you can see at the very end, right? That's the peak, and then the Trump tariff thing came out. Here's the big dip, and it's recovered and gone up higher since. Moral of the story is you are going to have these peaks and valleys and everything like that in the markets, okay? But you're investing for the long run. If you're going to do what I'm talking about, this is not a buy in and sell it next year or trade it. This is a long-term investment, and you need to have a date picked out. You need to have an age, like, hey, I'm going to do this from, if I'm 30, I'm going to do it till I'm 50. If I'm, 35, it doesn't matter what age you are. You need to have a time where you're going to invest for the long run. And that's what you have to do to be successful in investing, because look, we can't predict the future. We can't predict which company's going to do what, which country's going to do what. We can't predict a lot of things. There's going to be events that happen like 9/11 and COVID and stuff like that come out of nowhere that you never saw coming, and it's going to shake things up. But you just have to have that belief, and you have to remember that you are investing in real businesses. I'm going to go down and show you here, S&P 500, right? Let's see here. You can look up the holdings. Hold on a second. Holdings, right? You're like, okay, I don't get this stuff. Well, it's very simple. Look, here's the top 25 holdings of the S&P 500, right? NVIDIA. Okay, NVIDIA makes microchips. They're the top company in the world now. Microsoft, you've heard of them. Apple Computer, Amazon, Meta, which is Facebook, Broadcom, Alphabet, which is Google, Berkshire Hathaway, Tesla, JP Morgan, Netflix, ExxonMobil, MasterCard, Costco, Walmart, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Home Depot, Oracle, Bank of America. All these companies are household names. And if you keep going down the list, you will see more and more companies that you are familiar with. And again, what you are doing is when you buy the index or you invest in even single stocks, what you are doing is you're saying, look, I think that this company or this collection of companies, the best companies in the world, are going to continue to grow, innovate, become more profitable in the future. And when companies become more profitable, they are worth a lot more money. So that is how that works. And if you want to get rich, you need to get your money out of cash and into assets. When you buy an index fund, you are buying the world's best assets. Okay, these are the best companies in the world. Like I said, they have the best products, services, people that run them, and you get to participate in that growth and in that wealth creation, which is absolutely amazing. So this fund is the S&P 500. I know that's a long-winded explanation of index funds, and the S&P 500 is just one index, but it is the top 500 companies. It does exclude the small cap and mid cap companies in the United States. But however, being that it's market cap weighted, like I said, it represents about 85% of the U.S. stock market, because all market cap weighting means is the largest companies represent the largest percentage of the index. Okay, and so again, the top 500 companies make up 85% of the overall value of the entire U.S. stock market. Okay, so if you buy this, you're pretty much buying the U.S. stock market. Now, and what you can do too is when you look at this, you can look at the overview, right? And you're like, oh, well, where are you getting that like 10% rate of return? Where are you getting that? Well, first you want to look over here. Year to date, it's made so far just this year 10.85%. Here's the dividend yield, which is 1.18%. That's what it'll pay you a year in dividends. The expense ratio, remember I said low cost, 0.04% is the expense ratio every year versus an active portfolio where you hire a money manager. They'll charge 1 or 2% a year. So you are saving a crap ton of money by being invested in a low cost index fund versus investing in an active fund. Okay, I'm going to go down here to year fund return, right? Oh, so the last year it's made 17.58%. Over the last 3 years, 17.75, 5 years, 15.41, 10 years, 14.5%. So remember, that long-term average I gave you was 10% a year. Well, over the last 10 years, it's made 14.5%. So we've been going through quite a bull market over the last 10 years. And that's including, by the way, this 10 years is including the COVID crash, the interest rate hike crash, the tariffs, all that stuff, and it's still made that. So that's the S&P 500, and you can do this for all these funds that I'm about to talk about, but this is the one I like the most. If you're going to invest in just US, I like the total stock market index the best. And if I pull up the chart, see, very similar to the S&P 500, very similar, right? It's the same. They track very closely. Because, well, one, markets are very correlated. Number two, 85% of this fund is the S&P 500. The only difference in this fund is that you own the entire U.S. stock market, VTSAX, Vanguard's Total World Stock Market Index. Now, you're tracking every publicly traded company. And I believe there's somewhere around like 4,000 stocks. It changes sometimes, but it's like 3,500 to 4,000 stocks are in this fund, right? But when you buy this one, this VTSAX, you are investing not just in the S&P, but again, the entire U.S. stock market. So instead of 500 companies, you own 3,500 to 4,000 companies, however much is in it right now. And because and that does change too. Like again, why does it change from? Why could it be 3,500 or 4,000 or 3,000? Well, because some companies go out of business. Some companies get delisted from the stock exchange. So, and that changes. And sometimes there's a bunch of companies that get added, but again, being that it's market cap weighted and it's self-cleansing, you don't have to worry about that. Again, that's the beautiful thing about index fund investing. But why do I like this the most if you only go US? Well, because you get exposure to not just large cap companies, but also smaller and mid cap companies. In recent history, and you're going to see the return that I show you, but in recent history, large cap has outperformed, small and mid cap, but markets go in cycles. Sometimes small and mid cap companies outperform large cap. There are time periods where that does happen, and I'm going to get into the international investing as well. And again, there are time periods where international stocks outperform US stocks. Okay, and so I'm a big believer in not trying to time markets, time the market, or time cycles. I like to just be as broadly diversified as possible, and not try to guess which time periods each sector is going to do what. So again, I like a more broad investment than just the top 500 companies, but there's nothing wrong with it. Whatever the S&P 500 does, or the total U.S. stock market does, they're going to track very similar. Sometimes the total U.S. stock market will outperform if we're going through a time period where the small cap companies are doing better. The total U.S. stock market will outperform. And sometimes in the global market fund, that'll outperform the U.S. funds if international is doing better. You can't time these things. Now, if you only own U.S., I do want to talk about that real quick. If you only own U.S. stocks, say you want to buy VTSAX or the Vanguard 500 fund, you are globally diversified because all those companies in the S&P 500 are international companies. I know they're based in the US, but they do business all over the world. They're not just US only companies. They do business everywhere. So you do have a ton of exposure to international markets. Now, I like to have exposure not to just companies based here, but companies based all over the world that also do business all over the world and in the United States. It's the ultimate diversification. But some people don't like owning international because it hasn't outperformed US over the last couple decades. But again, you never know though. Going forward into the future, you never know if that's going to be the case because again, throughout history, there has been cycles where international is outperformed and small cap, large cap, whatever. But as you can see, I pulled it up and you can see compared to the S&P, S&P's done 14.62%. This fund has done just about 14%. So it's outperformed a little bit over the last 10 years. But again, you never know. A small cap and mid cap, that could change and they start to outperform the large cap fund. Either way though, you're fine. Either way, if you want to just go S&P or total US market, you're fine. But those are the two funds I would recommend if you're going to do US only. Now I'm going to go to my personal investment. This is where I put all my money. VTWAX, the Vanguard Total World Stock Market Index. This index tracks the global stock market. Okay, and so when I buy this fund, I own all the US market and all international publicly traded stocks as well in markets. And so it's roughly, I believe the weighting right now is roughly about 60% US and 40% international. It might be a little higher, like 65-35. Again, that changes because it's market cap weighted. And I don't have to worry about that. If times change and international is doing better and it becomes 50-50 in weighting, I don't have to make that adjustment. This fund will do that for me. But right now, U.S. is definitely dominating the world markets and is the most valuable stock market in the world. So when you buy this, you own the total U.S. stock market, plus you own the total international stock market as well. So if you go down here, you can look at the dividend yield, 1.73%. You can look at the year-to-date, 15.29%. Then you go down, you can look at over the last, it doesn't have 10 years. This is a new mutual fund, but it's pretty much average, again, right around what VTSAX and the Vanguard 500 fund average. Look at the last 5 years. 12.68%, last 6 years, 16.34, 18.3 the last year. Compare, and it's actually outperformed over the last year the S&P 500 because international stocks have started to do very well, actually. But as you can see, very similar to all the funds. And I pulled up the chart. Here's the chart this is a new fund, so this is from 2019 until now, so the last 6 years. But as you can see, very similar to the other ones. Here's the dip in 2020. That's the COVID dip. Here's the dip with the interest rate hikes and inflation. Here's the dip with the Trump tariffs, and here's where we are, right? So, these markets track very closely. Look, we live in a globalized economy, and markets track very closely. It's very rare where if the U.S. market is up, the global stock market's not up, or if the U.S. market's down, the global stock market's not down. Everything is interconnected, and that's just how that works. So markets are very correlated. There are just some time periods where one category will outperform the other. Now, and I'm going to end the index fund investing with this. I'm going to show you the total international fund right here, and this is VTIAX, I believe. Yeah, VTIAX. This is the Vanguard Total International Fund. And you can go down and you can do the same thing. Dividend yield year to date. See, 23% year to date on international. And you can click on this and see the holdings, right? And you'll notice a lot of these holdings, like Nestle. You'll know who Nestle is. You'll know who Tencent is. Taiwan Semiconductors, the largest chip maker in the world. There's tons of companies you'll recommend that are internationally based. So but what you can do, and why I'm even showing you this, because you really don't need this fund at all. If you're gonna be globally diversified, I say just buy the Vanguard Total World Stock Market Fund. But some people don't want to do that. Some people want to be 50-50 because they believe, hey, I'm going to buy US, but I believe, international is going to do better in the future. And you might be right. You might have a point because US has done well for so long. There is a chance where international might outperform. So what you could do, let's say you want to do 50-50 and you don't want to just buy the market and let it do the weightings for you. I would say you buy the Vanguard Total US Stock Market Fund, put 50 in that, and then 50 in the Vanguard International Fund, and it's pretty much like owning the global stock market, right? But all of these funds, it's all the same thing, right? Low cost, tracking an index. You're not trying to time the market. You're not trying to, buy and sell single stocks. You're not hiring a money manager. This is do it yourself. And, that's all you need to do, guys. That's all you need to do. I know this has been a long-winded video, 100%. I know that. But in order to explain this all to you, I kind of have to take time out to do it. But I like doing content like this. And if you want me to do more videos like this, I 100% will. And I can, really dive deep into each one of the things I talked about in this video. And again, I know most people have clicked off this video. I don't care. I do these videos for people who really want to do better in life and change their financial lives. This was just an example on maxing out your 401k and Roth IRA. If you just did that, you could be worth millions and millions of dollars, $5-10 million at retirement. I showed you the numbers. People have been saying I'm full of crap and, my numbers are off. And I just showed you the proof. So when you see people telling you that you can't do it, that it can't be done, here's the proof. I just showed you. And that's what it is, right? So here's the book. I wanted to wait till the end to show you The Simple Path to Wealth. This is the cover, and it's called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. This book I recommend all of you read. Everything I just went over in this video is in this book. Every single thing I went over in this video is in this book, and so this, if you read this, I'm going to end the video with this. If you read this book, you do not need to read another financial book. Actually, I would say you read this one. You need to read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. If you're in debt and you need to build an emergency fund, read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover first. After you get out of debt and have an emergency fund, don't read any more of Dave Ramsey's book. Read The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. Those two books are all you need to become extremely wealthy and also live a very good life too along the way. You don't have to start a business. You don't have to do anything complicated or high risk or anything like that. Read this book, do a lot of what I said in this video, and you will have success financially in trucking or any other career field that you're in. But that's it for this video. Again, like I said, if you want me to do more videos like this in the future, I will. Leave a comment in the comment section below and I can do that. But that's it for this one. I want to wrap it up because I know this has been a long video, but I wanted to do it. It's been on my heart to do it. So that's it. God bless. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching my channel. I really do, 100%. You guys who are positive and give me great feedback are why I do content like this. And I really enjoy it too. This is my passion, to teach stuff like this. 100%. So I will continue to do so. Just give me some ideas in the comment section down below, and I will do some more of this. But for now, God bless, peace out, stay tuned for the next video. Talk to you later.